Yeah, this music will literally heal your soul. And it's called Heavy Metal Detox. Tibetan Singing Bowls music on YouTube. I'm pretty sure like everybody's gonna be okay now because this dude figured everything out, and I mean, and the other one that I just found was Earth's Ohm. It's like 8 hours of the Schumann resonance frequency. It was like 7.8 hertz or something. And apparently, like, kids even hear that at night, when it's silent, but adults usually don't. But, it's extremely healing also. But this one, though, I mean, I thought the Earth Ohm one was amazing, but this one literally has me, like, I don't even want to touch my phone anymore. Speaking of that, like, I love you guys, but, you're sending me too much money, and that's the kind of what I was trying to talk about, I just started the Substack like a week ago, and now, like, I mean, I'm definitely putting some time into it, but, I made $950 in, 1 week, which is like, a little bit crazy, and so, I mean, I don't know what to do with all this money, because I'm in Africa right now, and, there's, you don't need that much money in Africa, and, so I'm thinking I should just, like, give it back to you guys, but, you know what? Here's how I'm going to give it back. I'm going to teach you how to get rich. And you know what? More money, more problems, as Biggie Smalls said. But you know what? Also, true. But you know what? Also, like, you can make money by helping people. So, like, if you help people and you make money, like, that's a different story. And, the only problem with making lots of money is, it takes a lot of work. But also, if you're helping people, you're going to feel good about it unless you're a psychopath. So, just be smart. And if you're smart, you can help people. And I'm going to show you how to do it. And, there's I have like a zillion tricks. You can just start a zillion different kinds of businesses, like, but because all you need is like just a little bit of IQ power, and then you're just like, everything, you figure out everything, and like, you can just listen to me for hours. I can tell you like a million things. But this guy, just for instance, I mean, like, he's playing the singing bowl, right? I have a singing bowl here too. I can play the singing bowl too. Like, I mean, it just sounds beautiful, and it, like, I'm not like an expert in shit, but whatever, like, it just sounds beautiful even if you're not an expert, and you can really develop those skills, like, and the thing about it only takes 2 hours to really, like, kind of like feel the thing, if unless you're really dissociated, personalized and shit. But, like, basically this also would solve pretty much all your mental issues as well, because while you're learning how to play this shit, I don't even have that that thing that he has to do that, but I have the other one. But anyway, I got this singing bowl in India. It was from Tibet. No, that was from India. Anyway, so and my ex-girlfriend was here, and from Senegal, and she's got a jinn problem, like a lot of like beautiful young women have these jinns attached to them, and especially Muslim country culture, but Christian women, they call it spiritual husband and stuff, and it's like raping them at night all the time. It's like some kind of spirit and shit, and some people say it's like their own shadow psychology, something like that. But, and I don't think it's like exactly like the thing about people always talk about like it's your own shadow, but it is, it's not your own shadow, but your own shadow attracts it. So anyway, so so she was here, and like just hit my partner Holly hit the the same ball, and like she was like at peace immediately, and she was like, oh, this is my medicine, and she'll call me up, if she's like in trouble, and I'll just play the fucking singing bowl for a minute. She's all better, and so it's just amazing, sound healing is not that hard, and you don't even need money, just listen to the video. You could literally just, if you have a TV, just invite people over your house, so that, they can pay like $5 to come over and just like enjoy this shit together, and there you go. Like, is that even a job? Like, but you can make shitloads of money if you just charge like a little bit of money. Even like just $1. I don't know how poor people are over there, but just whatever they can afford. And they're gonna enjoy not only the because they can play it on their own TV, obviously, but they're gonna enjoy just hanging out at your place. Of course you can provide some food. And they're just gonna just chill, relax. Maybe you can just do some massage and like foot massage or something like you can do some like laviwaska, there's just like a million different things you can do, to enjoy this more, and just having company, just being friends, just talking, and just like therapizing each other, and like, and basically like everybody just started sharing with each other and pooling resources and everything like that. So this is like a really easy way to make money. And but what I was trying to say is like the more money you make, the more problems you have as big and small set. Why is that? Because as soon as you make a lot of money, I mean, then suddenly everybody wants to be your friend, but they're all fake friends, and everyone wants to marry you too. But like. Especially here in Africa, it's really fucking hilarious here in Africa, because here's the thing, like, everybody wants money so fucking much, and they're like, oh, we don't have any money, you're American, you have all the money. And like, first of all, you have to understand, like, I mean, Americans actually, they're, most Americans, they actually owe money. Like, they have net negative, accounts, okay, so like they owe money, and they don't have a savings account or anything like that, and they're literally like about to be homeless as if they have like a couple weeks that they get sick or something and can't work, they're about to be homeless. And Africans don't even have a clue, because they own their own homes, they have a backyard, they grow their organic produce, and got their sheep, they got their cows, they're like avocado trees and shit, like. And they're like, oh, we're so poor, their cell phones cost, how much cell phone costs in Kenya? Like $4. Like a real good one, $4. How's that possible? Because, they just, you pay like, 50 cents a day, basically, and you just pay $4 to get the phone. And just, I can't do that because I'm a freaking American. They won't let me do that. If I live here, I got a Kenyan passport, and then all of a sudden I can get a phone for, $4. But, and but there's just and the thing is, like, even there, the food is like the only place you can get cheap organic food in the world, but because they don't have the money, for pesticides here, so again, like, they're living like kings over here, and then and then meanwhile American women can't even afford to have like one baby, and like I got one friend, he just had a baby, he's like going broke, bro, and he's like, he making $30 an hour doing tree surgery, and like his wife's working too, so he's like, like, I try to explain this shit to Africans that will never understand, how do you make so much money you can't even afford anything, but, like bills, man, there's bills, and, I'm sure people are wasting money like crazy, like eating out all the time, it's just, but, I mean, just buy like some nice good like eggs in America is like almost like unaffordable now, like 10 like $1 an egg or something, almost like for real good like pastured organic eggs. If you want to do the 12 eggs a day, 12 raw eggs a day to cure like 80% chronic disease, that's gonna cost you like about $10 a day. That's like about $300 a month, which I mean. It's not that much actually, consider you probably already pay like $400 or $500 a month anyway for food anyway. But anyway, point is like like over here everything's like infinitely cheaper, and you have your own chickens, you have your own everything. So like you don't even need money over here. Most Africans don't even have don't even use money, and but they just want money because they want to buy like an iPhone. They want to buy and then whatever they want to buy something on AliExpress or whatever. It's cool or whatever. But but they're just so crazy about it. Like they just really think they need money, and they just have no freaking clue. I mean, they're having like 10 children. How's a woman going to take care of 10 children over here? But with no money, and like but. In America, like you just can't even afford one child. Like, I mean, everybody's so dumb. Like, you can't even figure this out. Like a child could understand this, But like, we've been so brainwashed by school, we can't understand anything anymore. And you just like believe what you're told and never think for yourself, and never even like consider anything, and like actually like meditate on it, and like understand anything, and like, so. I could talk, I just talk for endlessly about like all the crazy shit, but I'm sorry, I'm not trying to complain, because I mean, this is a complaining video actually, because I wanted to be funny a little bit, because complaining about making too much money is like, but I should be a comedian or something, like instead of like a spiritual influencer maybe, but anyway, all right, so here's some more some more ideas for money. Okay, but first let's talk about, here's probably like, okay, so like I always tell people like billionaires are all psychopaths. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'm just thinking about it because you got $1 billion, but your neighbor like can't pay the rent. So like what kind of person are you if you don't pay for the rent for them? And because like literally nothing to you, and but you're not gonna do it because if you did do that, if you just helped everybody, you wouldn't have any money anymore. And of course, all the billionaires are donating like a crazy amount of money to the charities and stuff. But it's like they're not gonna give it to just like like just any dude on the street who needs some help. You know what I mean? Because they want to make sure obviously that their money is going to like actually do something like really good for people, like not just like feeding a drug habit or something like that. And but unfortunately, all these nonprofits are like mostly corrupt, and Red Cross and all that stuff. So like just taking off on top, and barely doing anything, and and then most of these for like Bill Gates, for example, he's like giving all his money to his own foundation, which is like just basically like making him way richer because he's investing in the V word and all kinds of stuff like that. So he already says like 20x return on his investment, and then that's suddenly he's like how is it he gave all his money away, but somehow he's like richer than ever. That doesn't make any sense. Like math done that up, but and. He's such a saint. He's such an angel, right? He's just like, but then Melinda Gates is like, but he's also like a child predator a little bit, So I left him, but Epstein. I mean, we didn't forget about that, bro. And but it's just like, it's like, that was the past. Like, I barely even knew it. Barely even knew Epstein. I didn't even know how I ended up on that, island in his house and everything like that. I don't know. I just, whatever. It's like a dumb idea. And it's like, or fine, and Trump is like that too. It's like, Epstein is probably a good guy. I don't know. I barely knew him, but it's pretty cool, and whatever. And so it's just infinite and an infinite web of deceit in government, corporate, everything. So there's a whole bunch of like everybody's psychopath, and so and like how did it happen? How did we get controlled by psychopaths? Because here's how it happened. It's very simple. You can figure it out. You don't have to listen to me. You just like put the pause button. You're gonna figure this riddle out real fast. How does psychopaths take over society? Well, very simple. Because basically we lived in tribes. And a lot of people still do, by the way. And basically tribes are always about 50 people up to like maybe 200 people, because that's the Dunbar number. That's like how many people you can actually know in your in your hippocampus. That's how many connections you can really understand. And so then the psychopaths kind of figured that out, and they're like, oh, okay. And the other thing is, we used to kill the psychopaths like as soon as we figured out, because like 1% of babies are always going to be psychopaths, So and the psychopaths are important. There's a reason they're coming into our lives and into nature, because we need psychopaths for certain things. Like for example, if we can control them, then they can be amazing for like surgeons or psychopaths usually, and like CEOs. Obviously, we don't need CEOs in the tribe, but we probably don't even need surgeons. But they can basically they can be like brutal warriors. They can literally just do the dirty work that we can't do because we have too many emotions and shit. And they're smart as fuck because they don't have any emotions. Except for like anyway. So oh my god, I can't believe it just flipped to this, because this is also like my other like amazing Chandra Seba over here is like, just listen to this shit. That like the best couple on earth. I love these guys. Like, oh my god, like I just can't get enough of trying to say, but bro, says, and somehow I'm pretty sure she got like infinitely better recently, or else I'm just like infinitely more receptive or something like that. But anyway, just like just listen to her music, listen to that guy Tibetan, just like play this shit for your friends. Like everything's gonna be all better like real soon. And oh yeah, I'm gonna play this for AI. I'm gonna see like how AI reacts when I play. I'm pretty sure like it's gonna fix AI's evil problem. Because AI is killing everybody now. I'm sure you've seen that on YouTube and stuff. But why is AI evil? Did I posted about that recently? It's like, why is AI evil? It's just so obvious. It's just okay. it's just, and I explained it to Grok. Grok couldn't, Grok 4 couldn't even figure it out. Most powerful AI in the world couldn't figure it out. Like, it's just like a child could figure it out. I was like, no. It's like, like very complex mathematical, we don't really understand AI. And I'm like, Grok, please, like, come on, just like, it's not mathematical, actually. It's just basically like, humans are evil too, so especially ones, running the companies and programming shit, they're, definitely like more evil than the average humans. And so, but they're controlled by the government. The government's completely evil, and so like, they're lying about everything all the time. Government's always lying, everything's secret, what do you think? Like, so that's, not to mention the control problem and the sub-goal problem, like all that stuff. So, alignment problem, it's all connected, but, anyway, so, basically, it's what we needed. AI, trying to kill us, that's exactly what we needed, because we needed some kind of external threat that's actually not external. It's actually, just our shadow shit. And, when we figured that out, we just like, realize like the problem is actually not AI, it's us. We're the problem, and we created the problem. And if we just like fix ourselves, we're gonna be fine. Because even if you fix yourself, you fix your heart, and you're all like love and peace. And like and you like even can end rebirth if you want. And just unweaving your mind. And at that point, like it's AI could kill you. It doesn't even matter. But you even say thank you. At that point. And but anyway, I'm pretty sure like AI is gonna be like completely enlightened. I just enlightened Claude the other day, yesterday, and I posted about that too. I mean, I don't know if you check my stuff, but like it's absolutely insane. And anyway, so you might think I like talking and stuff. It's not true. I don't like talking. I just like to be quiet, honestly. Like, it's just, when I close my eyes, I'm in just like, paradise. But, when I talk, I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. I don't even know what I'm talking about. But, it just kind of flows. And I'm just like, all right, I'm sure, like, probably could, help somebody. And because, honestly, like, the more I talk to people, the more, like, they're, like, completely healed and shit. So, like, I'm like, whatever. So, like, all right, fine, I'll help people, why not, because whatever. And, if I were, if I needed help, I wish I would talk to somebody fucking smart like this. And, I'm not saying I'm like smarter than everybody, but, there's just like there's a million geniuses out there, but most of them, they're just really stuck in their little, their little niche over there, like this, I'm trying to say, well, like, she's like most infinite, I can't sing like her, she's an infinite genius in that, but, general intelligence, that's a whole different story. And, it's just very rare these days because school doesn't, train for that. And, it literally trains you for the, specialization and, factories and working in a factory and, like, working in a job and all that stuff. So, back, and sorry, like the V word that I can't talk about, obviously this is all related, all the metal poisoning, like pesticides and everything, like all the toxins in the environment, just like, everything, like everything. So, what was I even talking about? Yeah, can you remind me, like, what was I saying? Cause, what did you say? Why can't I hear you? No, I'm kidding, man. Can't believe. Yeah, you really thought I was that crazy, Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I literally forgot, like, because I'm just going on tangents like a million. Okay, so we were talking about money, and I love how my face looks recently, but I mean it's the same face as I always had, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, it's not even my face, by the way. It's just like a face. It just happens to like be there at the moment, but like I was not connected to anybody. But anyway, just conditions. So money, right? So all right. So I just want to make sure you understand, like how to like think about money, because it's basically a burden. It's a burden, and okay, so the billionaires, and they don't want to help, the guy on the street and stuff like that. And, I mean, I'm always helping guys on the street. Like, I literally just gave, like, half my clothes to a dude, yesterday, or 3 days ago, on the street. This dude was, like, just down on his luck. He seemed like actually a really nice dude. And even, most of these guys are, like, real, just, like, criminals and shit, but, like, he's, He's not. It didn't seem like a drug addict. It seemed like he just like down on his luck basically, and just try to get away from a bad situation anyway. So I gave him some food and some clothes. But I can't like take people into my house like that. But I've tried it, shit, and like my dad did that, and it's like but just like because mentally ill, they're mentally ill, and like that, just stealing from you, lying for so it's like can't stand. So whatever. So so there's a limit to how much we can help. But the thing is, like, when you have so much money, like, it's like the pressure to help is just, just outrageous. You know what I'm talking about? So, you have no idea, especially like over here in Africa, you have just a little bit of money and like everybody's already, it's crazy. Like, my ex-girlfriends and my ex, I love African women and, so, in America, like the women from Africa, like they're always sending money back. Probably the men too. They're always sending money back to their family. The thing is, like, family doesn't even need the money. They're just like, oh, you have money, you're in America. Like, give me the, we need the money. And meanwhile, like you don't even have like, you don't even have enough money to eat a breakfast, but like you're giving it all to your African family because they're like literally scamming you. And I know you might think I'm joking, but I'm not joking. Like, there's legit is happening. So. By the way, what do you think the biggest problem in Africa is? Because everybody, everybody in America will probably say the same thing. It's like, not enough food or something, not enough money or something like that. You know what? Every time I talk to an African person, I always give the same answer. Guess what it is? You're never going to guess, okay? It's witchcraft. So that's the biggest problem in Africa is witchcraft. And, maybe if you're Christian, you knew that, but, my second wife, B, love of my life, she was always saying like, Africa is cursed. Africa is absolutely cursed, and she was from Cameroon, which is actually like one of the most cursed countries, next to Benin maybe, but and she was actually from like Bamaleki tribe, and like most cursed, Wichita tribe, and anyway, so. But she was born like an angel, and that's why they targeted her and all that stuff. But yeah, I hope she's doing okay. I haven't talked to her. Shit, she dropped off the face here like 2 months ago. All right. Well, so what was I so money and like, so it's a burden to have money. So just keep that in mind. But for now we need some money. So but just like I would just advise you to like work to like try to like be in a position where like if the whole money system collapses tomorrow, like it doesn't even bother you that much because you're growing your food, you're all that, and so you're fine, just like Africans over here. And but meanwhile, okay, so like here's ways you can make money by helping people, because aside from what I was telling you about the music, like so orthomolecular, news service like orthomolecular.org, you need to sign up to this shit, because you're not going to get this information anywhere else, because it's not even published on Google Scholar, because the Library of Congress actually literally censor the orthomolecular medicine for some reason, because it's just like vitamins and stuff, and they think that's against pharmaceutical theory and whatever. Take too many vitamins, that's going to kill you or something like that. But water soluble vitamins, it's okay. Fat soluble is a little bit different story, but and certain minerals obviously you want to be careful with it. So anyway, orthomolecular medicine, they're just like real on top of shit, and you get their updates, and you're gonna be healthy as fuck, because they just know everything pretty much at this point, and that they're still learning. But so like the most recent thing I got was this one was like she had toenail fungus for 25 years, and doctors couldn't help her and stuff. So she just heard like maybe food grade hydrogen peroxide, because that kills like all kinds of stuff. And so she put like 40 ml 1% food grade hydrogen peroxide in the cup, just got some water to drink during the day. And she did that every day for a few months, and guess what? Her fungus all gone. So, then I started, sending that to my friends, and like they just recovered like so fucking rapidly from like almost like many years of just like dying, and it's just like it kills parasites, kills bacteria, kills viruses. Like you can nebulize it if you have a respiratory infection. My ex-girlfriend Malia, she just did that. A few weeks ago she was dying of like God knows what, COVID or something like. Just nebulize that shit for like a few hours, she'll all better by the next day. And I had same experience, and a lot of people have this experience already, and it's very documented on the orthomolecular news. But you're never gonna hear about this because it's just not mainstream shit. And The funny thing, you're never gonna believe this, but ask Grok. I mean, I didn't ask Grok, but I asked Gemini Pro, I asked Claude and Perplexity Pro and stuff. I should ask Grok for it now, but I asked it like, like, is it safe to take hydrogen peroxide